A little over a month ago, I dropped my top 10 spring designer fragrances video. And in that video, it mostly consisted of designers on the higher end of things, a little bit more premium, a little bit more expensive. When it comes down to it, it's based off of what I think is most suitable for spring and also what I'm most excited to wear and what I historically do wear in the season of spring each year, aside from maybe a few newer releases that get thrown into the video. But usually does come at a cost. Today we have the budget-friendly version of that video. 10 cheap designer fragrances for springtime, and the criteria for this video is everything $40 and below. And I think that's a really competitive price point. You know, you start getting into that $30 to $35 range, it's a really good spot to be. You know, it's not quite to the mid-range of $50, $55 where it's starting to push it or beyond. You know, it's a really good price point where you can get multiple things and still not spend a whole bunch of money. So I figured I should probably roll this video out now before we get into summertime, which is already pretty quickly approaching. When you look forward at the upcoming forecast here, it's going to be looking pretty good. But we still got some time to throw in some more springtime-oriented scents on a budget. I will drop links to these down below. These links will take you to discounters, and when I'm talking prices, it will be discount prices. I have a mailing list you can sign up to as well. You name it, anything that's rare, discontinued, or hard to find, I'm searching for it every single day, even on weekends. And as soon as something like that does come into stock, I send out an email notification allowing you the opportunity to get a bottle for yourself before it does sell out. Dior Homme Parfum has dropped a couple times over this past week. Sold out pretty quick, but I was able to get an email out there, and a lot of you guys were able to pick it up from that email. Luminous Night, Ideal Extreme, Dior Fahrenheit Les Parfums, really good prices on some Parfums de Marly's, Mercedes-Benz Club Black. The list goes on. Anything that is in high demand, I will get you a bottle. All right, let's get kicked off with Choo Man Ice. Really nice one here for a great price, and it emulates Dior Homme Cologne just on a budget. It's really all about the bergamot, get a little bit of patchouli in here, a lot of musk, a little bit of ambroxan as well. Really nice, clean, bright, fresh, uplifting, bright one. One main difference with this compared to Dior Homme Cologne is this one actually has a little bit more of a woody depth and character. So a little bit more cedarwood and patchouli being used in here, whereas with Dior Homme Cologne, you don't really get any of that. It's pretty much straight up a summertime beast with all of the bergamot and the musk and things of that nature. This one has actually a little bit more sweetness to it. But it does still have that bright, crisp, fresh opening and kind of that sweet iced lemonade smell that you come to like from Dior Homme Cologne. The reason why this is making the spring video, though, is because of the reasons I just mentioned. It's got that added sweetness and depth, believe it or not. But this one's coming in at a price right around $30 to $35 for 100 ml. You can get a tester with a cap, just like this one here. If we turn it around, you can see the sticker with the notes on the back and the fact that it is a tester. So it's a nice little touch. You can save even more money going that direction. Next up, John Varvatos Artisan Pure. So this one's all about the petitgrain, the neroli, the musk, the orange, clementine, all those things. Beautiful scent. It's an Artisan flanker, so it does have some of that original Artisan DNA, but much more of an earthy and aromatic take, and ultimately much more unique. This is actually, to me, one of their best offerings. It's really good stuff, and it brings a new, refreshing, different twist on your typical warm weather style of scent. You know, it can all get monotonous. A lot of them can run together, but this one stands out on its own. And it's even better when you look at the price. It's now down to about $35 or so. I think $35, $36 for 125 milliliters, just like this bottle, 4.2 ounce. So you can get that for a great price. You have something that is doing it differently than everything else, and the quality to price ratio is also phenomenal as well. If I had to choose one season for this, it would easily be spring, hands down, and obviously coming in close second, summertime, but I think spring is easily the best time of year for this one. It's a must-have on a budget. And even if you're not on a budget, if you have plenty of money to burn through, you should still buy this. I mean, it's so good. It's an insane value. Next up, we have Issey Miyake Low Blue Dissy Pour Homme. It's got rosemary, cypress, and juniper berries. My cap got lost in one of the boxes. Did come with a cap. I bought full presentation, but I can't find the cap. It's all right though. Very aromatic. I mean, that's what it's all about, legitimately. Aromatics, some woods, a little bit of a citrus component, but not a lot, and that's basically it. And I love it for that reason. This is another example of a warmer weather scent that is unlike any of the other popular warm weather scents on the market. That's one of the main problems, and one of the reasons why when you look at a lot of the collectors and the people who are really passionate about this hobby, one trend that you'll find is that most of their all-time favorites are generally categorized as fall and winter scents, sweeter, heavier scents, because with those you get more depth, more complexity, more uniqueness generally. With fresher ones and spring, summertime scents, you just don't always get that. There are outliers. This is one of them. There are many more, but a lot of times you kind of have to do some searching around. But this is one where you can get it in and it smells nothing like anything else out there, and it's a unique take on a springtime scent. Great stuff for a great price. This one is right around $34 to $35. There was a weird point where it was like out of stock on every discounter, and if it was in stock, it was super expensive. Now it's more consistently available at the price point that I mentioned. Abercrombie and Fitch First Instinct Extreme. So I think the original is more suitable for summertime. It does have some sweetness, but not to the point where it's unbearable. And just when I smell First Instinct, the eau de toilette, it just legitimately smells like summer. Summer vacation, happiness, good times. The extreme version, though, is just that. A little bit more extreme, a little bit more sweet, more woody. And so this is actually a little bit too heavy for my taste for summertime. Hence why it's in the spring video and obviously at an affordable price. This one does perform a little bit better. It's an eau de parfum. It's not a whole lot more expensive than the EDT, and it's one where I don't see any reason not to pick up a bottle. That is, if you like this DNA, which I do. I love the First Instinct DNA. Not afraid to admit it. Yeah, it's playful. Yeah, it's youthful. It's an Abercrombie and Fitch. But these do have a striking amount of uniqueness, just given the general scope of what they normally put out, which I think is pretty admirable. And this extreme version, again, gets it done with better performance at still a great price, and it's great for springtime. Next up, Salvatore Ferragamo Aqua Essenziale Blue. So this is, of course, Ferragamo's take on a blue scent, but this one was done by a perfumer genius, Alberto Marias, and normally his offerings are more expensive, you know, designer or niche. They're just up there in price. This is one of his works that you can get for $30 or so, and you can oftentimes, I believe, get it at rack stores even. So it's kind of funny when you think about it. Not that this is uncommon necessarily, but you know, you can walk into a discount store and get something done by the perfumer that was behind some of the biggest works of all time. That doesn't always happen, can from time to time, but it's kind of funny to think about. Most people, if not all of them, are walking in and buying something like this. They have no idea who's behind it. But I digress. This is actually a really good release. It's a really good offering because it doesn't smell like any of his other works or any of the other blue fragrances on the market in general. It doesn't smell like Sauvage or Dylan Blue or Aqua Atlantique. It's its own being here. I mean, yeah, it has a little bit of the Aqua Essenziale DNA, but aside from that, which obviously it's a flanker, it's on its own. Great mass appeal, great compliments, has a good amount of depth and aromatics behind it, which makes it hold up perfectly in spring. I believe this next one is a whopping $20, Lacoste Pour Homme. You could go with something like Lacoste Loam, Lacoste Loam Intense, Lacoste Loam Timeless, Lacoste Match Point. They have a lot of great offerings for spring. But I wanted to go with the OG. I mean, it doesn't get much more simplistic than this, but it really is a good scent when it comes down to it. It's got plum, apple, rum, and musk. It's unique. There's nothing else out there like this either. And you don't normally say that about stuff that's $20. But this one really is something different, which I like for that reason. A little bit of a boozy, fruity sweetness and a woodiness. Great for springtime. I wouldn't wear it in summer. Fall and winter time, I just have other things I'd rather be diving into, so that only leaves one. I think this is perfect for spring on a great budget. Let's go with Trussardi Riflesso up next. So this one kind of has its own little thing going on as well, borrowing inspiration from other places. It's got tonka bean, apple, and leather in here. I believe this one gets compared a little bit to Lacoste Loam, which I don't really get a ton of that, to be honest. Maybe a little slight bit, but it's more so its own thing, kind of just taking a swing at the broad scope of other popular scents on the market. I'm not saying that it's like any one other thing in particular. Maybe it's got a dusting of Lacoste Loam. Maybe it has a dusting of a Versace Eros style of scent from that tonka apple sweetness, but it still is kind of roping in some of its own things to create its own scent entirely. So, you know, it's not something that you necessarily haven't smelled before, but it also isn't a straight up clone of anything either. Regardless, there are plenty of, you know, smell-alikes on the market, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this one does kind of provide its own little fresh take on a great budget, usually in that $35 range. Good performance, good quality, something that's very versatile for this time of year, when those kind of days where you have it starting off as cold and then it really kind of warms up in the evening when you're getting off of work. Those just kind of odd temperature shifts that are hard to predict. You know, this type of thing will work great for that. This next one's really cheap as well, in that mid $20 range, maybe low 30s, I can't remember for sure. Pepe jeans for him, this is the original here. They've got lavender, pineapple, coffee, and orange listed off, and it's a pretty fair note breakdown. They do have some flankers. Pepe jeans cocktail is really good, better for summer. I think this original is very well suited for springtime, and at this price point you really can't go wrong with it. Something a little bit different, refreshing, has a nice mixture of fresh and sweet. It's a good one to have. Kenneth Cole Mankind Hero. Kind of an interesting note breakdown on this one here. We've got Mountain Air, which is always an interesting one, lemon, lavender, and clary sage. So, you know, it does have an aromatic, airy, bright, wispy, kind of ozonic, aldehydic smell. You know, just very fresh overall. Fresh, bright, uplifting, something that doesn't really provide a ton of depth in one way. More so just kind of a transparent, wispy airiness is kind of what this one gives off. But it does do a really good job of creating something that you can wear for pretty much any situation that you can think of when the weather is mild. When you're in that spring weather where it's just right there in the middle, not necessarily hot, not necessarily cold, this type of thing works perfect for that. And if it does start to tip in one direction or the other, there's enough kind of variances in this one to where it can hold up for those different temperature changes. Has a little bit of that fresh citrusy kind of smell and a little bit of that sweetness to where it can do good for either end of the spectrum there to some extent. Great price, easy to get on discounters, and it's one that you can just throw on and be good for anything. Last up for this video, we have Op99 M Dive. This one has mint, lemon, incense, and apple in here. This is Op99's newest release, at least for men, in terms of their line here. 9 PM, which is an ultra male clone, completely different than this. This is kind of another hybrid situation where it's hinting at a little bit of Bleu de Chanel with that incense kind of citrusy, woody smell, hinting at a little bit of a Y Eau de Parfum, you know, kind of in that vein. So it's, you know, just it's borrowing inspiration from a lot of different places and then kind of throwing its own spin on it. So again, nothing that you've never smelled before, but also something that isn't just as cut and dry as something like 9 PM, which is very much ultra male no matter what way you look at it. This one's a little bit more complex than that. But ultimately, when you can get this one for right around $30 for a 100 ml bottle like this, or maybe it's 100 ml, nice presentation, significantly better than a lot of other clone presentations out there. The bottle's heavy, it's got thick glass, nice cap. I mean, these look nice. They don't really look like clone bottles. You get a lot going here for the price, and it's another one that works great in springtime. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. 10 cheap spring designer fragrances that are going to save you a lot of money. Links will be down below. Deals will be going out to my mailing list. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.